The war had been raging for years. The Galactic Coalition, a union of human and allied alien forces, was on the brink of collapse. The enemy, a ruthless empire known as the Vorn, had superior numbers, advanced technology, and a hunger for conquest. Every battle seemed to end in retreat for the coalition. Hope was fading fast. On the edge of a forgotten star system, a small coalition scout ship drifted silently. Its crew, a mix of humans and aliens, scanned the area for any signs of Vorn activity. The captain, a grizzled veteran named Tom, leaned back in his chair, staring at the star-filled viewscreen. "Another dead end," muttered the pilot, a young woman named Lisa. "We've been searching for weeks, and all we've found is empty space." Tom sighed. "Keep looking. Command thinks there's something out here. If we can find it, it might just save us all." "What are we even looking for?" asked the engineer, a burly man named Greg. "Some kind of superweapon?" Tom hesitated. "They call it the Ghost Warship. An ancient vessel, lost to time. Some say it's just a myth, a story to keep morale up. But if it's real... If it's real, it's our only chance," Lisa finished. Suddenly, the ship's sensors blared. A massive energy signature appeared on the screen, flickering like a dying star. The crew exchanged nervous glances. "That's not Vorn," Greg said, his voice tense. "It's something else." Tom straightened. "Take us closer. Let's see what we've found." As the scout ship approached, the energy signature grew stronger. Then, through the darkness of space, a shape began to emerge. It was a ship, but unlike anything they had ever seen. Its hull was sleek and black, covered in strange, glowing symbols. It was massive, dwarfing even the largest coalition battleships. "The Ghost Warship," Tom whispered. "It's real." The crew stared in awe as the ancient vessel loomed before them. But before they could react, the ship's systems went haywire. Lights flickered, alarms blared, and the scout ship was pulled toward the Ghost Warship by an invisible force. "Brace for impact," Tom shouted. The scout ship shuddered as it was drawn into the Ghost Warship's hangar. The crew held their breath as the airlock hissed open, revealing a dark, empty corridor. Tom grabbed a flashlight and stepped out, followed by Lisa and Greg. The air was cold, and the walls seemed to hum with energy. "This place, it's alive," Lisa said, her voice trembling. As they ventured deeper into the ship, they found themselves in a massive control room. The walls were covered in screens and panels, all glowing with the same strange symbols. In the center of the room was a chair, and sitting in it was a figure. The figure turned, revealing a humanoid shape made of light. Its voice echoed through the room. "You have come at last," it said. "The war has reached its tipping point. The Ghost Warship is ready to fight once more. But it needs a crew." Tom stepped forward. "We'll do it. Whatever it takes." The figure nodded. "Then the tide of war will turn. The Vorn will learn the price of their arrogance." As the crew took their positions, the Ghost Warship's engines roared to life. The ancient vessel, long thought to be a myth, was ready to join the fight. And the war would never be the same. The Ghost Warship hummed with a low, resonant energy as the crew settled into their stations. The control room, once dark and silent, now glowed with life. The holographic figure, its form shimmering like starlight, stood at the center, guiding them. "This ship is unlike anything you've ever seen," the figure said, its voice echoing through the chamber. "It was built in an age long forgotten, designed to end wars before they could consume the galaxy. But it requires more than just pilots and engineers. It requires unity." Tom, Lisa, and Greg exchanged uneasy glances. The weight of their task was sinking in. They were no longer just scouts, they were now the crew of a legendary warship. "What do we call you?" Lisa asked the figure, her voice hesitant. I am the ship mind, it replied. The consciousness of this vessel. I have waited centuries for a crew worthy of my power. The Vorn must be stopped, and you are the ones who will do it. Greg ran his hand over a control panel, marveling at the intricate designs. This tech, it's ancient, but it feels alive. How does it work? The ship is powered by a core of pure cosmic energy, the ship mind explained. It can travel faster, hit harder, and endure more than any vessel in existence. But it is not invincible. The Vorn will come for us, and they will not stop until we are destroyed. Tom clenched his fists. Then we'll hit them first. Show us what this ship can do. The ship mind nodded, and the screens around the room lit up with star maps and tactical data. The Vorn fleet is advancing on the Coalition's last stronghold. If it falls, the war is over. We must intercept them before they reach it. Lisa's hands flew over the navigation controls. Setting course for the stronghold. But, how do we fight an entire fleet? You will see, the ship mind said cryptically. As the Ghost Warship surged forward, the crew felt the sheer power of the vessel. It moved effortlessly, as if it were gliding through the fabric of space itself. The stars blurred into streaks of light as they approached the battlefield. When they arrived, the scene was chaos. The Coalition's remaining ships were outnumbered and outgunned, desperately holding the line against the relentless Vorn fleet. Explosions lit up the void as ships were torn apart. We're here, Tom said, his voice steady. Let's turn the tide. The Ghost Warship emerged from the darkness like a specter, its black hull gleaming under the light of distant stars. The Vorn fleet hesitated, their formations faltering as the ancient vessel entered the fray. Activate the primary weapon, the ship mind commanded. Greg hesitated for a moment before pressing a series of glowing buttons. A low hum filled the ship, growing louder and louder until it felt like the entire universe was vibrating. From the bow of the Ghost Warship, a beam of pure energy erupted, cutting through the Vorn fleet like a blade through paper. Ships exploded in its path, their defenses useless against the ancient weapon. The Coalition forces, stunned by the sudden turn of events, rallied. Their ships surged forward, emboldened by the arrival of the legendary warship. They're retreating. Lisa shouted, her voice filled with disbelief. The Vorn fleet, once unstoppable, began to fall back. The Ghost Warship had done the impossible, it had turned the tide of battle. But as the crew celebrated their victory, the shipmind's voice cut through the excitement. This is only the beginning, it said. The Vorn will not give up so easily. They will return, and they will be prepared. We must be ready. Tom nodded, his expression grim. Then we'll be ready. This ship may be a ghost, but it's our ghost now. And we're not going anywhere. The crew exchanged determined looks. They had faced the impossible and emerged victorious. But the war was far from over, and the Ghost Warship was just getting started. The victory at the Coalition stronghold was a turning point, but the crew of the Ghost Warship knew their work was far from done. The Vorn had retreated, but their empire was vast, and their resolve unshaken. The Ghost Warship had struck fear into their hearts, but fear alone wouldn't win the war. As the ship drifted in the aftermath of the battle, the crew gathered in the control room. The shipmind's holographic form flickered before them, its voice calm but urgent. The Vorn will regroup, it said. They will analyze our tactics and adapt. We must strike again before they can prepare. Tom leaned forward, his eyes fixed on the star map displayed on the screens. Where do we hit them next? Their supply lines? Command centers? Both, the shipmind replied. But we cannot do it alone. The Coalition must rally its forces and coordinate with us. The Ghost Warship is powerful, but even it cannot win this war single-handedly. Lisa frowned. The Coalition's been on the defensive for years. They're scattered, disorganized. How do we get them to trust us? By showing them what we can do, Greg said, his voice firm. We just took down a Vorn fleet. That's proof enough. The ship mind nodded. There is a coalition outpost nearby. They have been monitoring our movements. We will go there and make contact. The crew agreed, and the Ghost Warship set course for the outpost. As they approached, the outpost's defenses activated, targeting the massive vessel. They think we're a threat, Lisa said, her hands hovering over the controls. Should I hail them? Do it, Tom said. Lisa opened a communication channel. This is the crew of the Ghost Warship. We're here to help, not to fight. Stand down. There was a long pause before a voice crackled over the comms. Ghost Warship? That's impossible. That ship's a myth. It's not a myth, Tom replied. We just took out a Vorn fleet. Let us prove it. The outpost's defenses deactivated, and the Ghost Warship docked. A small delegation of coalition officers boarded the ship, their expressions a mix of awe and disbelief. It's real, one of them whispered, running a hand along the glowing walls. The legends were true. Tom stepped forward. We need your help. The Vorn are regrouping, and we have to hit them hard. But we can't do it alone. The officers exchanged glances before their leader, a stern woman named Captain Reed, nodded. We'll send word to the coalition. If what you say is true, we'll need every ship we can get. Over the next few hours, the Ghost Warship became a beacon of hope. Coalition ships began to gather, their crews inspired by the ancient vessel's return. The ship mind shared tactical data and strategies, coordinating the fleet for their next move. As the fleet prepared to launch, Tom stood on the bridge, watching the stars. This is it, he said. We've got a real chance now. Lisa joined him, her expression determined. We've got more than a chance. We've got the Ghost Warship. The crew exchanged smiles, their resolve stronger than ever. The war was far from over, but for the first time in years, they felt hope. The Ghost Warship led the fleet into the void, ready to strike at the heart of the Vorn Empire. The coalition fleet, bolstered by the presence of the Ghost Warship, moved swiftly through the stars. Their target was a critical Vorn supply depot, a hub of resources fueling the enemy's war machine. Destroying it would cripple the Vorn's ability to wage war, buying the coalition precious time to regroup and strategize. As the fleet approached the depot, the tension on the Ghost Warship was palpable. The crew had grown more comfortable with the ancient vessel systems, but the stakes had never been higher. The depot is heavily guarded, the ship mind warned, its holographic form flickering in the control room. The Vorn have reinforced their defenses since our last encounter. This will not be an easy fight. Tom studied the tactical display, his brow furrowed. We'll need to hit them hard and fast. If we can take out their shields and command center, the rest of the fleet can mop up. Lisa nodded, her hands steady on the navigation controls. I'll get us in close. But once we're in range, they'll throw everything they've got at us. Greg, who had been quietly working on the ship's energy core, looked up. The core's holding steady, but that weapon we used last time, it takes a lot out of the ship. We might only get one shot. Then we'll make it count, Tom said. The fleet dropped out of hyperspace near the depot, and the battle began almost immediately. Vorn fighters swarmed like angry insects, their weapons blazing. Coalition ships engaged, their pilots fighting with renewed determination. The Ghost Warship surged forward, its black hull gleaming under the light of a nearby star. Vorn weapons fire bounced harmlessly off its shields, but the sheer volume of attacks was overwhelming. Shields at 70%, Greg reported, his voice tense. We need to get closer, Tom said. Lisa, take us in. Lisa maneuvered the ship through the chaos, her focus unwavering. The depot loomed ahead, its defenses bristling with turrets and missile launchers. Activate the primary weapon, Tom ordered. Greg hesitated. We're not in optimal range. If we miss. We won't miss, Tom interrupted. Do it. Greg pressed the glowing buttons, and the ship's hum grew louder. The energy beam erupted from the bow, slicing through the depot's shields and striking the command center. A massive explosion rocked the depot, sending debris scattering into space. Direct hit. Lisa shouted, her voice filled with triumph. But the celebration was short-lived. The Vorn, realizing the threat the Ghost Warship posed, redirected their forces. A massive Vorn battleship, larger than anything the crew had seen before, emerged from the shadows. That's new, Greg muttered. The battleship opened fire, its weapons pounding the Ghost Warship's shields. The ship shuddered violently, and alarms blared throughout the control room. Shields at 20%. Greg shouted. We can't take another hit like that. Tom clenched his fists. We need to retreat. Lisa, get us out of here. Lisa nodded, her hands flying over the controls. The Ghost Warship turned, its engines roaring as it sped away from the battlefield. The Coalition fleet followed, their ships battered but intact. As the fleet regrouped at a safe distance, the crew of the Ghost Warship gathered in the control room. The mood was somber. We hurt them, Tom said, breaking the silence. But they're not done. That battleship, it's something new. Something dangerous. The shipmine's holographic form appeared, its voice calm but urgent. The Vorn are adapting. We must do the same. The next battle will be even harder. The crew exchanged determined looks. They had struck a blow against the Vorn, but the war was far from over. The Ghost Warship drifted in the quiet of deep space, its crew recovering from the brutal encounter at the Vorn supply depot. The Coalition fleet had suffered losses, but the destruction of the depot had dealt a significant blow to the enemy. Still, the appearance of the massive Vorn battleship loomed large in their minds. In the control room, the crew gathered around the shipmine's holographic form. Its glowing figure flickered as it spoke. The Vorn battleship is a new class of vessel, designed to counter threats like us. It is faster, stronger, and more heavily armed than anything they've deployed before. Tom crossed his arms, his expression grim. We can't outgun it. Not with the state we're in. What are our options? The shipmind paused, as if calculating. There is a way. The Ghost Warship possesses a hidden capability, a cloaking device. It was disabled long ago to conserve power, but it can be reactivated. Greg's eyes widened. A cloaking device? That changes everything. We could hit them without them even knowing we're there. Lisa frowned. But if it was disabled, there must be a reason. What's the catch? The cloaking device draws heavily on the ship's energy core, the shipmind explained. While cloaked, we cannot use our primary weapon or maintain full shields. It is a risk, but one we must take. Tom nodded slowly. If it gives us the edge we need, we'll do it. Greg, how long will it take to get the cloaking device online? Greg was already at a console, his fingers flying over the controls. A few hours, maybe less. I'll need to reroute power from non-essential systems, but it's doable. Do it, Tom said. We don't have much time. As Greg worked, the rest of the crew prepared for the next battle. Lisa studied star maps, plotting potential attack routes, while Tom coordinated with the Coalition fleet. The mood was tense but focused. They all knew what was at stake. Hours later, Greg stood back from the console, wiping sweat from his brow. It's ready. Cloaking device is online. Tom took a deep breath. Let's test it. The shipmind activated the device, and the Ghost Warship shimmered before vanishing from sight. On the control room screens, the crew could see the stars outside, but the ship itself was invisible. Incredible, Lisa whispered. They'll never see us coming. Tom allowed himself a small smile. Alright, let's move. We'll hit that battleship before it can regroup. The Ghost Warship, now cloaked, moved silently through the stars. The Coalition fleet followed at a distance, ready to provide support if needed. As they approached the Vorn battleship, the crew's tension grew. The battleship loomed ahead, its massive hull bristling with weapons. It was a fortress in space, seemingly invincible. We'll only get one shot at this, Tom said. Greg, power up the primary weapon. Lisa, get us in position. The cloaking device strained under the energy demands, but it held. The Ghost Warship maneuvered into position, its primary weapon charging silently. Ready, Greg said, his voice tight. Fire, Tom ordered. The energy beam erupted from the invisible ship, striking the battleship's weak point, a gap in its armor near the engines. The explosion was massive, lighting up the void as the battleship's hull cracked and splintered. Direct hit. Lisa shouted. The Vorn battleship listed, its systems failing. But before the crew could celebrate, alarms blared on the Ghost Warship. The cloaking device is failing. Greg shouted. We're losing power. The Ghost Warship flickered back into visibility, its energy core straining. The Vorn, now aware of their attacker, redirected their remaining forces. We need to get out of here. Tom barked. Lisa didn't hesitate. She pushed the ship's engines to their limit, and the Ghost Warship sped away, the Coalition fleet covering their retreat. The crew had struck another blow, but the cost was high. The war was far from over, and the Vorn were learning. The Ghost Warship limped back to a hidden Coalition outpost, its energy core barely holding together. The crew was exhausted, their faces etched with the strain of constant battle. The destruction of the Vorn battleship had been a victory, but it had come at a heavy cost. As the ship docked, a team of Coalition engineers rushed aboard to assist with repairs. Greg worked alongside them, his hands moving swiftly as he directed the efforts to stabilize the energy core. We need to reinforce the core's shielding, he said, his voice tense. If it overloads, the entire ship could go up. Tom watched from the control room, his arms crossed. How long will the repairs take? Greg wiped sweat from his brow. A day, maybe two. We're pushing the ship to its limits, and it's not designed for this kind of strain. Lisa joined Tom, her expression worried. The Vorn won't wait for us to recover. They'll be coming for us, and next time, they'll be ready. Tom nodded. We need a plan. We can't keep fighting them head-on. They're adapting too quickly. The shipmine's holographic form appeared, its voice calm but urgent. There is another way. The Vorn's strength lies in their central command hub. If we can destroy it, their entire war effort will collapse. Lisa frowned. Their command hub is deep in their territory. It's the most heavily defended place in the galaxy. How do we even get close? We use the cloaking device, the shipmind replied. But this time, we must be smarter. We cannot rely on brute force alone. Tom leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. What are you suggesting? A diversion, the shipmind said. The Coalition fleet will launch a coordinated attack on the Vorn's outer defenses. While they are distracted, the Ghost Warship will slip through and strike at the heart of their empire. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. It was a risky plan, but they were running out of options. All right, Tom said finally. We'll do it. But we'll need the Coalition's full support. Over the next day, the crew worked tirelessly to prepare for the mission. Greg and the engineers managed to stabilize the energy core, though it was still fragile. Lisa plotted a course through Vorn space, avoiding their patrols and sensor arrays. Tom coordinated with Coalition commanders, ensuring their fleet was ready for the diversion. As the Ghost Warship prepared to depart, the crew gathered in the control room. The tension was palpable, but so was their determination. "This is it," Tom said, his voice steady. "We hit them hard, and we hit them fast. No mistakes." Lisa nodded, her hands resting on the navigation controls. "We'll get there. No matter what." Greg checked the energy core one last time. "It's holding, for now. But we'll need to be careful." The shipmine's holographic form appeared one last time. "The fate of the galaxy rests on this mission. Trust in the ship, and trust in each other." The Ghost Warship activated its cloaking device and slipped into the void, invisible once more. The Coalition fleet launched their attack, drawing the Vorn's attention to the outer reaches of their territory. As the Ghost Warship approached the Vorn command hub, the crew's tension grew. The hub was a massive structure, surrounded by a fleet of warships and defensive platforms. "We're in position," Lisa whispered. Tom took a deep breath. "Greg, power up the primary weapon. Let's end this." The energy beam erupted from the Ghost Warship, striking the command hub with pinpoint accuracy. The explosion was blinding, lighting up the void as the hub's defenses crumbled. But as the crew celebrated, alarms blared. The cloaking device failed, and the Ghost Warship was exposed. "We need to get out of here," Greg shouted. Lisa didn't hesitate. She pushed the ship's engines to their limit, and the Ghost Warship sped away, the Vorn fleet in hot pursuit. The mission was a success, but the crew knew the war wasn't over yet. The Ghost Warship raced through the stars, its engines straining as the Vorn fleet pursued. The destruction of their command hub had thrown the enemy into chaos, but the crew knew they weren't safe yet. "We can't outrun them forever," Greg said, his eyes fixed on the energy core's flickering readouts. The core's barely holding together. "One more push, and it's done for." Tom clenched his fists, his mind racing. "We need to lose them." "Lisa, any ideas?" Lisa studied the star map, her fingers flying over the controls. "There's a nebula nearby. If we can reach it, the interference might throw them off our trail." "Do it," Tom said. The Ghost Warship veered sharply, heading for the nebula. Behind them, the Vorn fleet closed in, their weapons firing relentlessly. The ship shuddered as a blast grazed its hull. "Shields at 10%. Greg shouted. "We can't take much more of this." "Almost there," Lisa muttered, her focus unwavering. The ship plunged into the nebula, its sensors immediately overwhelmed by the swirling gases and radiation. The Vorn fleet hesitated at the edge, their sensors unable to penetrate the chaos. "It's working," Tom said, a hint of relief in his voice. "But we can't stay here forever." "Greg, how's the core?" Greg shook his head. "It's stable for now, but we need to find a safe place to make repairs. And soon." The shipmine's holographic form appeared, its voice calm. "There is a nearby system with a Coalition outpost. It is hidden and well defended. We can regroup there." Tom nodded. "Set a course. Let's hope the Vorn don't follow." The Ghost Warship emerged from the nebula and made its way to the outpost. As they approached, the crew breathed a collective sigh of relief. The outpost was small but secure, its defenses ready to repel any attack. As the ship docked, the crew was greeted by a team of Coalition officers. Among them was Captain Reed, the stern woman they had met before. "You did it," she said, her voice filled with awe. "The Vorn command hub is gone. Their entire war effort is falling apart." Tom nodded, his expression grim. "It's not over yet. They'll regroup, and they'll come for us. But we've bought ourselves some time." Captain Reed placed a hand on his shoulder. "You've done more than anyone thought possible. The Ghost Warship, it's more than a myth. It's a symbol. And you've given us hope." The crew exchanged tired smiles. They had faced impossible odds and emerged victorious, but the war was far from over. Over the next few days, the Ghost Warship underwent extensive repairs. Greg worked tirelessly, ensuring the energy core was stable and the cloaking device was operational. Lisa and Tom coordinated with Coalition commanders, planning their next move. As the crew prepared to depart, the shipmine's holographic form appeared one last time. You have proven yourselves worthy of this ship. The war is not yet won, but with the Ghost Warship and its crew, victory is within reach. Tom looked at his crew, his voice steady. We've come this far. We're not stopping now. Let's finish this. The Ghost Warship activated its engines and soared into the stars, its crew ready for whatever came next. The tide of war had turned, and the galaxy would never be the same.